Are you still watching your garden containers look empty and underwhelming season after season, waiting for plants that never seem to catch up? There's a better way. Some perennials don't make you wait. They surge into growth within their very first season, filling containers with lush foliage and generous blooms before summer even peaks. These are the plants that reward you immediately, not after years of patient hoping. And the best part? They return each spring with even more presence, more fullness, more impact than the year before. Welcome to Primal Life, where we help you build container gardens that look extraordinary from day one. Most advice you'll find about perennial container gardening steers you towards slow, cautious growers. Plants that spend 2 or 3 seasons just trying to establish themselves before they offer anything worth admiring. You put a small root ball into a beautiful pot and it just sits there, barely changing, barely growing, barely blooming, while you water it faithfully and wonder if anything is actually happening underground. That kind of gardening tests your patience in the worst way. It promises future beauty while delivering present disappointment. But a select group of perennials behaves entirely differently. These plants hit the ground running. They expand aggressively, bloom generously, and transform a container from sparse to spectacular within a single growing season. In open garden beds, that kind of vigor can become a problem. In containers, it becomes your greatest advantage, because the pot itself keeps that energy focused and controlled. Every plant featured here shares 3 qualities that set them apart. They establish themselves rapidly from even small starter plants. They reach a meaningful, visually satisfying size within their first full growing season. And they deliver either dramatic blooms or bold, textural presence within just a few months of being planted. These aren't shy, tentative performers. They are confident, vigorous growers that give you the lush, abundant container display you've been picturing. Here is a closer look at each one, why it grows so quickly, how to get the most from it in a container setting, and what to keep in mind for long-term success. Russian sage is the first plant to consider. A woody perennial with an almost explosive growth habit that carries it from a small start to a full, mature specimen of 2 to 3 feet in a single season. Planted in spring, and by the height of summer you'll have something that looks like it's been growing in that container for years. The foliage is silvery gray, fine-textured and luminous, while the flower stems rise in airy columns of lavender blue that persist from midsummer all the way into autumn. The entire plant releases a warm, herbal fragrance when brushed, and its light, ethereal quality provides a beautiful visual counterpoint to bolder companions in mixed arrangements. Russian sage not only tolerates full sun and intense heat, it actually thrives in those conditions. Once its roots are established, it needs very little water and asks almost nothing of the gardener. To grow it well, choose a container at least 14 to 16 inches across with strong drainage, and fill it with a lean, well-draining mix. Cactus blend works beautifully, or standard potting mix cut with extra perlite. Water consistently during the first few weeks to help it settle in, then pull back to once a week or less. Avoid heavy feeding, which leads to loose, floppy stems instead of the tight, upright form you want. Each spring, before new growth begins, cut the whole plant down to 6 or 8 inches above the soil line. That hard pruning forces dense, bushy regrowth from the base and keeps the plant looking intentional rather than overgrown. Russian sage requires no deadheading, attracts pollinators throughout its long bloom season, and naturally resists deer, rabbits, and most common pests. The one non-negotiable is full sun, at least 6 hours of direct light daily. Without it, the stems stretch and collapse. Equally important is drainage. Standing water or waterlogged soil will rot the roots quickly. The base of the plant does become woody with age, which is completely normal and doesn't diminish its performance. Shasta daisy is next, a fast-establishing perennial that blooms heavily in its very first season, producing wave after wave of classic white flowers with bright golden centers from early summer through fall. Plants grow quickly into full, rounded clumps, reaching 12 to 24 inches depending on variety. Modern compact selections like Becky, the Amazing Daisy series, or Snow Lady are ideally proportioned for containers, sturdy enough to hold their flowers upright without staking, and restrained enough to stay visually balanced in a pot. A container at least 12 inches in diameter, filled with rich, well-draining potting mix, gives Shasta daisies the foundation they need. They prefer full sun, but manage in part shade, though bloom production does decrease as light diminishes. Consistent moisture is important, particularly once flowering begins. A monthly application of balanced liquid fertilizer keeps the blooms coming. Removing spent flowers regularly, simply snapping them off at the base, extends the flowering season noticeably by redirecting the plant's energy into new bud production. Shasta daisies have an honest, cheerful quality that works beautifully in cottage-style arrangements, and they produce exceptional cut flowers that hold up well in a vase for over a week. The one limitation to know about is longevity. In hot, humid climates or dense soils, these plants tend to decline after 3 to 5 years and benefit from periodic division. They're also susceptible to leaf spot diseases in humid conditions, so avoid wetting the foliage when watering and allow for good air circulation around the plant. If disease becomes serious, cutting the plant back to the ground will prompt fresh, clean regrowth. Catmint earns its place as one of the most reliably fast and freely blooming perennials for container use. It builds billowing, rounded mounds of soft, gray-green aromatic foliage blanketed in lavender blue flower spikes from late spring onward, flowering continuously without any intervention until hard frost. Plants reach full size, typically 18 to 24 inches in both height and spread within a single season. Walker's Low, despite its misleading name, tops out around 18 inches and remains one of the best performers. Cat's Meow is another excellent compact option. Both bloom without needing deadheading, though a single hard shearing after the first flush of flowers encourages an even more prolific second bloom later in summer. For container growing, choose a pot at least 12 to 14 inches across with excellent drainage holes. Catmint performs best in full sun, but accepts part shade without too much complaint. Use a lean, well-draining mix and resist the urge to water frequently. Catmint is genuinely drought-tolerant and does better with slightly dry conditions than with constantly moist soil. Heavy feeding leads to lush, floppy growth rather than the tidy, compact habit you want. The aromatic foliage has a pleasant scent that humans find appealing and that many garden pests find repellent, making catmint a natural deterrent as well as a beautiful plant. It is consistently attractive to bees and butterflies and earns high marks for its zero-maintenance bloom season. One practical note: actual cats are strongly drawn to catmint, and young plants can suffer from being rolled on or chewed. Protect new plantings with a temporary wire cage until the roots are firmly established. Catmint is not identical to catnip, though feline enthusiasm for both tends to be equally inconvenient. Black-eyed Susan is a North American native perennial that grows vigorously from the start, producing bold clumps of 2 to 3 feet in its first season and covering itself in golden yellow flowers with deep, dark centers from midsummer through fall. Its native origins mean it's adapted to tough conditions: heat, dry spells, variable soil quality, and it handles all of them without sacrificing bloom production. Container-specific varieties like Little Gold Star, American Gold Rush, and Tiger Eye have been developed to stay compact, typically under 2 feet, while still producing dozens of flowers per plant. Plant in a container at least 12 to 14 inches in diameter, filled with well-draining potting mix. These plants want full sun. 6 or more hours of direct light brings out their best. Though once established, they manage short, dry periods without stress. Light monthly fertilizing supports steady growth without encouraging the weak, floppy stems that excessive feeding can cause. Modern varieties bloom continuously without deadheading, though removing spent flowers tidies the plant and reduces unwanted self-seeding into neighboring containers. Black-eyed Susans bloom most intensely during the hottest weeks of summer, precisely when many other perennials pause, making them genuinely valuable for maintaining color through the toughest part of the season. They are important native plants that support butterflies, bees, and seed-eating birds. Be aware that they do self-seed freely, so expect to pull the occasional volunteer seedling from nearby pots. Powdery mildew can appear in humid, poorly circulated conditions, so select mildew-resistant varieties and avoid crowding containers. Like Shasta daisies, these plants are considered short-lived perennials, with a productive lifespan of 3 to 5 years before they begin to thin out and decline. Tickseed, most often sold under the name Coreopsis, is a native perennial that blooms with extraordinary persistence, typically maintaining color for 4 to 5 full months without requiring deadheading. Modern varieties develop into neat, compact mounds of 12 to 18 inches in a single season and produce a near-continuous display of daisy-like flowers in yellow, gold, pink, or bicolor combinations, depending on the cultivar. Moonbeam, Zagreb, and the Leading Lady series all perform exceptionally well in containers. A pot of 10 to 12 inches minimum diameter with very good drainage suits them well. Tickseed is built for warm, sunny, slightly dry conditions. It thrives on lean soil, handles heat and drought with ease, and actually produces fewer flowers when overfed or overwatered. Water moderately once established, and fertilize lightly, if at all. When plants begin to look open or sparse in midsummer, a light shearing of about 1/3 of the plant's height will trigger fresh, dense regrowth and a renewed flush of blooms. The fine, delicate foliage provides lovely textural contrast when combined with larger-leaved plants in mixed arrangements. Most plants remain productive for 5 to 7 years before needing replacement or division, and propagating by division is simple and effective. Perennial salvia is one of the most vertical and visually dramatic fast growers in this group. It shoots up quickly into clumps of 18 to 30 inches depending on variety, and produces tall, tapering spikes of tubular flowers so abundantly that the foliage is often barely visible beneath them. Deep purple blue is the most common and striking color, though pink, white, and bicolor forms are widely available. Compact varieties like Maynite, Caradonna, or Marcus are well proportioned for container use. Choose a container of 12 to 14 inches across with strong drainage. Salvia wants full sun and handles heat well. Use a lean, well-draining mix and keep feeding light. Too much fertilizer shifts the plant's energy into leaves at the expense of flowers. It is drought-tolerant once established and prefers to dry out somewhat between waterings. After the first big bloom flush, cutting the flower stems back to the basal foliage level prompts a strong second wave of flowering in late summer and fall. Salvia is heat-tolerant, drought-tolerant, resistant to deer and rabbits, and naturally repels pests through its aromatic foliage. Hummingbirds and butterflies visit it constantly, bringing consistent life and movement to your garden. The one critical condition is drainage. Waterlogged soil causes root rot rapidly and can kill plants within days. Always use containers with adequate drainage holes and avoid allowing water to pool in saucers beneath the pot. Also, verify cold hardiness before purchasing, as different salvia species vary considerably in their winter tolerance. Daylily is among the fastest establishing perennials you can grow in a container. The strappy foliage alone fills space attractively, and the trumpet-shaped flowers, available in nearly every color imaginable except true blue, appear prolifically from early summer onward, with reblooming varieties continuing well into fall. Each individual flower lasts only a single day, but mature plants hold so many buds simultaneously that the display carries on for weeks without interruption. Compact varieties developed specifically for container use, such as Stella de Oro, Happy Returns, or Pardon Me, stay under 2 feet and bloom repeatedly through the season. For best results, choose a container at least 14 to 16 inches in diameter, filled with rich, well-draining potting mix. Daylilies perform well in full sun to part shade, though flowering is most abundant with 6 or more hours of direct light. Water consistently throughout the growing season, and fertilize monthly with a balanced liquid fertilizer. These are vigorous, heavy feeders that deplete container soil readily. Deadheading is optional, but improves the look of the planting. Daylilies are famously tough plants, tolerating heat, cold, drought, and poor soil conditions that would stress less resilient perennials. They are virtually free of pests and diseases in most growing regions. The one maintenance task they do require is division. After 3 to 4 seasons in a container, they become densely root-bound and benefit from being lifted, split apart, given fresh soil, and replanted. This process also multiplies your stock, giving you additional plants for other containers. Sedum, in its upright forms, Autumn Joy and Matrona are the most widely grown, is a succulent perennial that establishes and expands quickly, building into handsome architectural clumps of 18 to 24 inches within a single growing season. The foliage is thick and fleshy, attractive from the moment new growth emerges in spring through the flat-topped flower clusters of pink and red that open in late summer and fall. Those flowers attract a tremendous number of pollinators during the season, and after they fade, the dried seed heads persist through winter, giving the plant a structural quality that extends its visual interest well beyond the typical growing season. A container of 12 to 14 inches with strong drainage filled with lean, gritty soil, cactus mix or potting mix heavily amended with perlite or coarse sand, gives sedum exactly what it needs. Water sparingly once established, as these plants store moisture in their leaves and are among the most drought-tolerant flowering perennials available. Fertilizing lightly once or twice per season is sufficient. Overfeeding causes the fleshy stems to become weak and collapse under the weight of the flower heads, especially after rain. No deadheading or pruning is needed through the growing season. In early spring, simply cut last year's growth down to the soil line before new shoots emerge. Sedum asks almost nothing of you and delivers season-long beauty in return. The only firm requirements are full sun and well-draining soil. In shade or moisture-retentive conditions, it opens up at the center and becomes leggy and unattractive. Yarrow is one of the toughest, most adaptable, fast growers in the entire perennial world. Its ferny, finely textured foliage is aromatic and ornamental on its own, and above it rise flat-topped flower clusters in shades of yellow, gold, red, pink, and white that bloom from early summer through fall. Plants build substantial clumps of 2 to 3 feet in its first season, and compact selections like Little Moonshine or the Tutti Frutti series stay under 2 feet while producing generous quantities of flowers. Container requirements are modest. A 12 to 14-inch pot with excellent drainage suits Yarrow well. It wants full sun and 6 or more hours of direct light daily for the tightest, most productive growth. Lean, well-draining soil is essential. Rich or moisture-retentive mixes cause the stems to elongate and topple over. Water moderately once established, and fertilize lightly, if at all. Removing spent flower clusters encourages continued bloom production and prevents excessive self-seeding into neighboring containers. The cut flowers are excellent and hold their shape and color for more than a week in a vase. Yarrow is highly attractive to pollinators and beneficial insects, tolerates challenging growing conditions gracefully, and naturally deters deer and rabbits. Sensitive-skinned gardeners should wear gloves when handling it, as direct contact with the foliage can cause mild irritation in some individuals. In open garden beds, yarrow spreads aggressively, but inside a container, that drive simply becomes a rapid, lush fill that works entirely in your favor. Ornamental grasses round out this list with their unique combination of speed, texture, movement, and 4-season staying power. Compact varieties, dwarf fountain grass, blue fescue, and Japanese forest grass are among the most container-appropriate. Build into full, graceful clumps in their first growing season and continue expanding and improving in the years that follow. Their foliage ranges from cool silver blue to warm gold to deep burgundy, and many produce feathery or arching plumes in summer or fall that catch the light and move with the wind in a way no flowering plant can replicate. As seasons progress, the foliage shifts color, often deepening to burnished bronze or golden amber in autumn, and the dried structure persists through winter, maintaining visual interest when everything else has gone dormant. Use a container of 12 to 14 inches filled with well-draining potting mix, and select varieties specifically labeled as compact or dwarf. Full-sized grasses grow enormous and will overwhelm a container within 2 seasons. Most grasses prefer full sun, though Japanese forest grass is a beautiful exception that does best in part shade. Water consistently through the establishment period, then taper off once the plant is actively growing. Monthly fertilizing during the growing season supports the vigorous expansion that makes grasses so satisfying in containers. The only annual maintenance required is cutting the entire plant back to 3 or 4 inches in early spring before new growth begins. A task that takes only minutes and keeps the plant looking deliberate and fresh. Grasses are virtually free of pests and diseases, cold-hardy enough to survive winters in containers across most growing zones, and genuinely unfussy once established. If self-seeding is a concern, seek out sterile or non-seeding cultivars to avoid unwanted volunteers in neighboring pots. These 10 perennials prove that you don't have to choose between speed and quality, between beauty now and beauty that lasts. Each one delivers a full, impressive display in its very first season and comes back the following year with even more energy and presence. The long wait is not a requirement of perennial gardening. It's simply the result of choosing the wrong plants. Choose these, and your containers will reward you immediately, generously, and year after year. Happy planting.